Hello, everyone. Welcome to our September webinar. My name is Justine Chappell, Communications and Marketing Manager for ZAPP. Today's webinar, I'm going to talk about the renewal process and some of our top tips for what to pay attention to when you renew your ZAPP account. In addition to some reminders, I'm going to share some of the changes we've made to ZAPP in the past year or so that you're aware of them. And I'm also going to show you somewhat of a major change we made to the site earlier this week. We want to make sure it's coming up in the 2024 season and of 2023, of course. So I hope you learn new things, or at least get a good refresher out of this webinar. Let's first talk about how you can renew your ZAPP account when you're ready to initiate that process. Let's see here. So first, the ZAPP team will actually contact you once your previous event ends or when your renewal is set to expire soon. All you have to do is review the information in that email and let the team know that you're ready to sign next year's contract. You can also initiate the renewal process yourself by contacting us, either using one of the contact forms on our Help Center or the ticket tab of the ZAPP admin dashboard. You can also just email us at zapphelp@weststaff.org. Simply let us know you're ready to renew and we'll get your paperwork started. Don't forget that you can renew your account as soon as your previous year's event ends. So if you want to get the next year application going as soon as you wrap up, even if technically your contract isn't about to expire yet, don't hesitate to reach out to us when you're ready. There's actually another way now that you can request a renewal, and that involves our newly released ZAPP update. So as of Tuesday, every organization will have an administrator that's assigned the account manager role. The account manager now gets access to two newly available pages that list your organization details and account users. In other words, there are now two levels of administrator access to your ZAPP account: account manager and general. General is the same as what you were all used to. It's same access to all the events and the jury and everything like that. The only difference is that the account manager can now access these two new pages. And I'll go through them, of course. But the account manager, when we made this update, was assigned to the person we had on contact as your main contact for your organization. So early next week, we'll be sending out some information about who the main account contact was for your account and who that new account manager is, so that if you need to update who that main contact is, you can let us know and we'll make sure that the account manager is someone that is actively working with your organization. So now I'm going to show you what these new pages look like for the account manager. So under profile, the account manager, so if you're a general administrator, you won't see these tabs, but if you're the account manager for your organization in ZAPP, you will see these. The first is the organization details page. And you'll come here and you'll see that we have some contact information and other organization information about your account. So as the account manager, you can come in here and view the main contact. So the main contact is most likely the same person as the account manager. If there is someone that once the account manager gets into this page and wants to update who the main contact is, they can update it here. They can also update the billing contact information. So you can update who the billing contact is and the billing address. The billing address is what we will use going forward to send your remittance checks to. We've copied over the information, as we've already had it in the database, but if there is any changes going forward, make sure to come in here as the account manager and update that. Whenever you make any updates to the section here and click save, that will notify our finance team so that they can actually update their records in their processes so that the checks are being sent to the right place. So now it's up to you to come in here and update your billing and account information as needed. The other thing the account manager can do in this page is view the start and end dates, the type of contract it is. In your case, not for this demo account here, in your case, we'll list how many applications were collected for that contract. If you have multiple events under the same contract, so if multiple events throughout the year, those number of applications will reflect all of the applications for that, for all of those events. And then the EFT enrollment status will let us know if or when you enrolled in electronic funds transfer for your remittances and the date that you enrolled. And then here you can see request renewal. If I click this button as the account manager, you'll see it sends a renewal request to the ZAPP team. This is basically just a notification to our team to let us know that you're ready to renew, and then we'll follow up with the paperwork. So that's the other way that you can request a renewal now. It's pretty easy. And at the bottom of the page, you'll also see the event history. This will list all of the events that you've had with ZAPP and also the total number of applications for that specific event. So it's a great at-a-glance look without having to go to the events management page and looking through a list of current events versus the list of archived events. You can just come in here and look at the table. So that's the organization details page that I wanted you all to get used to and be aware of. Also, you'll see, I forgot to mention at the top here, when your account renewal comes within 60 days, you'll get this message at the top of this page that says your account will expire on a certain date. Contact us to renew. The other page that the new account manager role type will have access to is the account users. This will list all of the administrators, jurors, and adjudicators. Adjudicators are only if you're using the on-site platform. But you can see both the active and deactivated users for your organization. So any account that's been created for your organization in the past on ZAPP will be listed here. So again, you can go to show all, you can just view the admin users, you can just view the jurors, and then if using on-site, you'll view the adjudicators there. For the admin users, this is, the new list that you now have access to. You can see any administrator that has access to this part of ZAPP, this administrator side of ZAPP. You'll see we have the general user types and then the account manager. So if I haven't mentioned it already, every organization will only be given one account manager. So one person has access to these additional pages we're looking at. Then you can have up to 4 additional administrators. Those will be general user types. So a total of 5. Now, as the account manager, you can come here and actually click on Add New Admin User to create an administrator for your account. No longer do you have to kind of email us and let us know you need someone else to have access to ZAPP. You can come in here and create their profile. Again, up to only 4 additional general administrator accounts. So when you come in here and create their username and put in their information, they'll be added to the list. And when you notify them of their access, they'll be able to log in with the username. We do recommend that you set up a temporary password, but that you have the administrator you're creating the account for reset the password using the forgot password setting on the login page so that they have their own private password. The other thing we recommend doing is, if you need a juror account that is probably created for an event in the past, instead of creating a new juror, you can come to the jurors list and click Show Deactivated Users. This one doesn't have any, but you can click the deactivated user and actually reactivate them so that their account is usable again, rather than creating duplicate juror accounts. We recommend that over, creating duplicates. And then the other thing I should mention for the admin users, make sure that because you can have up to 5 total administrator accounts, we highly recommend not sharing administrator accounts between multiple people. So everyone that needs access to ZAPP needs their own administrator account. This is both for security reasons, and it helps the ZAPP team and your own team keep track of who is making updates to your events and information. There are several places where we've listed who's made an update to a particular part of your event or your account. And it's good that everyone who is using ZAPP has their own profile so that we can keep track of those things. But yeah, this is the account users page. And now that you can create your own administrator accounts, it's up to you to manage who has access to ZAPP. Again, if the account manager that is currently listed for your organization needs to be updated, you can just reach out to the ZAPP team and we'll get that person updated to who needs the account manager access. All right, back to the renewal process, just to wrap that up. Once your renewal is requested, our team will work with you to get your application for next year's event added to ZAPP and copied over from last year. Now, I want to go over some reminders for copying over the application. So, as for renewing your application, when you copy it over, it does make it easy to have the information set up the way it was in the previous years and only have to update certain things. But it's a good idea to spend some extra time making sure everything is updated correctly and that you've addressed anything that you may need improving. So let's head into the event editor to talk about a few things on each of these pages. We'll start in event information. This is more obvious, but the first thing you should do is check to make sure all the dates are updated for your 2024 event or for your next year's event. Some might update automatically. So if I scroll down to all these, accept applications, jury dates, when it gets copied over, they might already update to 1 year later. But you'll want to make sure that the dates and the months are correct and that it all is updated to the right year. So this also includes dates that are listed in your general information or event summary. Make sure that you come in here and any of the text that you've written out with your dates are updated. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty obvious, but it's something that you just want to make sure you pay attention to so that all the information is accurate. As you can see here, this has some outdated events, so I'd want to make sure I come in here, or dates, and come here and update those. Also, when you're looking through your event summary, general information, rules, regulations, booth info, all that kind of stuff, make sure you go in here and just kind of refresh that information. You can use similar verbiage, but it might be helpful if you include info that will be new for this next year's event, or at least update the language a little bit so that it doesn't seem so cut and paste from last year. And that will just kind of help artists know that, this is the new year and it's exciting to have your next event going. So you might also want to evaluate the experience and feedback you got from artists from the previous event. Maybe you had some info missing last year that you want to make sure you include this time. Maybe you want to add a little bit more pizzazz or something so that artists are more likely to apply. Some folks like to put in artist testimonial from past exhibiting artists. They might want to put in, statistics from attendance from the previous year. Things like that will entice applicants to apply. And then the other thing I want to mention on this page is the new refund policy field. So this is new as of, I think about May or so. We added this refund policy field to separate the refund policy from the rest of the legal agreement. So if you haven't set up a new event since last year, this will be new to you. We've added this so that it's easier for artists to clearly see the refund policy and so that it helps the ZAPP team locate it if there's ever a chargeback or payment dispute. We can then know that we can come right to your event details and see the refund policy there. So pull any refund information you have from the legal agreement and put it into this box here. And here's some, clear details, key elements you can put in there. Refund eligibility criteria, refund process and timeline, cancellation and refund expectations, anything like that you might have. And so you can either copy it from your legal agreement and put it in the refund policy, or you can move it. But as long as the refund policy field is filled out, you'll be good to go. And that's about it with the event details page. Just make sure you go through this pretty carefully as if it was your first time creating it, just so you're not overlooking any details that need updating. The same goes for the jury details tab. I'm not really going to go through this. Just make sure that you are reviewing it. And if you have any different methods or criteria that you're using this year, make sure you put that in there. All right, so the application editor is a great place as well to evaluate how the last year's application process went and see if there's anything you want to update or change. So obviously go through medium categories, see if there's anything that needs splitting out into its own category or anything that you might have missed. For the application questions, see where you might want to have any changes made. Think about if anything seemed unclear to artists as they filled this out, if anyone reached out to you about, a question regarding one of the application questions you put on the form. Maybe there was some confusion that you want to clear up. Maybe there are some questions that came in from the jury process that you wish you had asked artists. So think about that if there's anything you want to include. Or maybe some other key information that you need from the artists or vendors to ask so that the organization process later on becomes a little bit easier. Now, this one this new feature I'm going to talk about, we've had for a little while now, but if you don't know its existence, or if you haven't used this feature yet, I'm going to show you all about it. So that's the conditional logic feature we now have for the application custom questions. Conditional logic helps you create a better application experience for artists or vendors. Some questions may not apply to all applicants, so this allows you to customize the application. When you use conditional logic, you'll set up questions to display or hide depending on the answer to a previous question. A good example of this is questions you may have for artists versus non-artist vendors. You may have different things you need from each type of those applicants. So I'll show a quick example of how to set this up. What I want to do first is set up a base question to ask whether the person applying is applying as an artist or as a vendor. So I'm going to click Build New Question and set up this question type. I'll click Single Select since it will be one or the other. My internal label will be artist or vendor. This will be required for all applicants. And I will type the question, are you an artist or vendor? I'll create my answer options here, artist or vendor. And I'm not going to select enable conditional logic just yet. This question will appear to every single applicant, so I want to make sure it's unchecked there. And I'll click create question. And you see we've got it added there. So next, let's say I'm going to build a question I have just for artists. So I'm going to click build new question. I'm going to, let's say, a text box here. I'm just going to come up with some random examples, but let's say for this one, I want the artist. I'm going to label my title with artist so that on the list of questions, I can keep track of which ones were for artists and which ones were for vendors. So I'll say artist. Let's say this one's for a biography. And I'll say, please write your artist biography. I can make any character limit or not. And this one is where I'm going to click Enable Conditional Logic. I'm going to say, show this question if any of the following match. I'll leave those as is. And now I'm going to select the question I just created, artist or vendor. And I'm going to say is, because I want this question to appear if the person selected artist on the previous question. So artist or vendor is artist. And I'll click create. And you'll see we have that question there. I would then repeat this for as many questions I have just for artists, making sure I always enable conditional logic with those settings that if the artist or vendor question is artist, show this question. And then let's just do one quick one for vendors. So let's say I needed another one for vendors, and this one will be, let's say, equipment needs. I will say, please list your equipment needs. And fill this out, enable conditional logic. This time I'm going to say show this question if artist or vendor. You'll see, that new question now appears, but I'm still going to stick to my base question. Artist or vendor is vendor. And I'll click create. And then again, I would go through as many questions I have for vendors, I would do the same thing. When I preview the application, just to show you how this works, you will see at the bottom, we have the existing questions I had already created, but here's this base question we created. If I click artist, the artist question appears. If I click vendor, the vendor question appears. And it would list every single one that I might have created instead of just one. It might have multiple. So this is just one example of how you can use conditional logic to kind of separate out your application questions. This can be used in many more advanced ways. You can use conditional logic for one question, ask a separate question, and then even enable an additional level of logic in there. It might be getting too complicated at that point, but you can really use conditional logic to customize your application and really make it so that the applicant has a better experience as they're going through it. They don't have to weed through any questions that don't apply to them. They can simply follow along and everything will apply to them. So as you think about how you set up your events year over year, think about how you might want to use this feature or other methods to optimize your application and create an easy experience for applicants. Again, on the application editor too, just make sure everything's correct, including, any number of images that you need. And if you, need a booth shot this year, if any changes need to happen in this section. And then to harp on the same topic for product editor, just again, make sure everything's correct when you come into the product editor, that your fees, if they've changed or updated, if you have different early bird or late fee types, you can put those in here. This is a relatively newish feature too. So if you didn't already know, you can set up an early bird or late fee where, for your jury fee. So you would set the jury fee to the cost that it is normally. And then if I click this plus button, you could set an early bird fee to apply, and you would set the cost of the jury fee at the time during the early bird dates. And you would set the start date would be the accept application date when the application opens. And then the end date for the early bird fee would be the date that you choose, would be that early bird window. And then the late fee would be in the kind of the reverse. You would set the fee for when artists apply on the later end. You would set a start date for when that late fee window starts. And then the end date would actually be your application deadline date. So this is how you can customize the fee types depending on when artists apply. So again, just make sure everything's correct. The other thing you'll want to be aware of, if you need in the product editor, you can always reorder the products. If you have a certain system where you set the certain order of products during the application window separately from how you do it during the booth purchasing window. So you can reorder products as needed. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that if you have all your products set up for the year, but you only really want the jury fee to appear when the artist is applying, you can deselect this active column, deselect that, and click Save Products. And that would make it so that only the jury fee is on the checkout page. So those are just some things for the product editor. Another thing to be aware of is the coupons. If you have created coupons in the past, make sure that any coupons you need created for this current year are in here and up to date. And then just like you are all pretty familiar with, when you're ready to publish your event, you would obviously in the event editor click Publish Event. If this button here is grayed out, that means something is missing. So just make sure you go through each of these pages and make sure everything is filled out. If your event status is set to pending, that means we're still awaiting payment for your renewal, so we won't be able to publish it yet. And then just keep in mind that when you do click Publish Event, our team will get to your request within 1 business day, but remember that we're only open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. But we do aim to publish events within the business day or within 1 business day that we receive them. So just keep that in mind as you prepare to publish your event. It's best if you try to publish your event before your accept application date. That way everything is ready to go and the application will simply open automatically when that date comes. So just keep that in mind. So the other thing to think about in your renewal is considering anything else that you might need to improve your ZAPP experience. So I want to do a quick rundown of the add-ons that we offer to encourage you to consider these during your renewal period. These add-ons don't have to be requested when you renew, but there is the option for you to add them to your contract so that you can submit payment altogether, with the exception of the eBlast, actually. So I'm going to go through each of these add-ons a little bit quickly, but just to show you what they're all about. The first is the booth management service, which can greatly simplify the process of assigning and managing booths for your event. This feature lets you upload your booth map and assign booths using dynamic customizable tools to organize your ideal placement. This add-on is currently free with your current contract, so if you're renewing anytime soon, you can request the booth management for free. To show you a quick demo of this, I'm going to go into the booth management feature, which is activated when you request this. And essentially, just to give you a quick rundown, what you'll do is upload the booth map for your event. This is just the silly little demo booth map that I created to show you what it looks like. But if you have your booths visually displayed, what this allows you to do is click Assign Booth and place a pin somewhere on the map. You can assign it the booth number and then choose the artist that you're assigning this booth to. When you select that artist, you can also give the pin a different style, let's say, I need a certain style for this. You can select a different size. Depending on the size of your booth map, you might need a smaller size pin or a larger size pin. And then you can choose the color. The color can be ways that you personally organize and associate the color, but you can just do that, and you'll see it gets added to the map, and you can go in and click and view the artist details for that booth assignment. You'll then also see a list of the booth assignments and can further edit or delete those pins. And this will also carry over the booth number into the rest of the ZAPP system, where it lists booth number and you can associate those. So it's a way of visually assigning the booth number to artists. Then you can also view the public booth map and share this with your patrons or with the artists so that they can visually see who is placed where. They can click on this, and this, is a public-facing URL so that they can access this at any time and see the details for the booth on the map. So that was a quick rundown of how to use Booth Map. Like I said, it's currently free, and I'll show you in a little bit how to request these add-ons. The next add-on I want to talk about is ZAPP Onsite. Onsite service provides festivals and fairs with a mobile responsive at-festival jury system to identify award winners. So adjudicators can go to the festival and score booths from any mobile device. They just log into the ZAPP Onsite system on their mobile device, and they can score the booths. They can also add comments, view your sitemap, and compare artwork seen at the festival to the actual artwork submitted in their application. Onsite will show the application itself and see the artwork that was submitted. The scores that the adjudicators put into Onsite will sync directly with ZAPP, and the administrator can then determine award winners within minutes and see all the scores that the adjudicators entered. And then, this will also, with ZAPP, it will pull artist information, application data, so that you don't have to build scoring books. You can just activate Onsite, and it's ready for jurors to use. Onsite is $200 as an add-on unless you bundle it with the gallery feature, in which case it's $250 for both of those. I'll talk about gallery next, but just to show you a little bit more into Onsite, this is kind of what it looks like from the mobile side. You can choose the event you're at, and here's a little GIF showing you kind of how the adjudicator goes through and scores the application while viewing their images they had submitted. They can put any comments in and continue to score the next booth. So that's a little bit about Onsite. The next add-on I want to talk about is the gallery. The gallery pulls applications that are in the accepted and confirmed statuses and creates a gallery view for your artist that patrons can view on the public side of ZAPP, or you can embed directly into your website. So when you activate gallery, it will actually in your event editor. When gallery is activated, it will pull up this gallery details tab, and you can come in here and customize the information for the gallery with your own summary and some other additional information. Gallery will generate a URL that you can then share. You can link to on your website. You can share it out any way that you want. This is an example here of what the gallery looks like on ZAPP. So you can view all of the artwork that was submitted by the artists, and these would just be for the artists that are actually participating in the event. Patrons or whoever can come in here and look at the artwork and get an idea of the images or the artwork that will be displayed at the event, and get information about the artist as well too. They can view the artist website and get some other additional information. So it's a nice searchable way so that folks can browse the artists that will be at the event. And then, like I said, this can actually be embedded as a gallery into the website. So on the, let's see here, on the gallery settings, we have an embedding code so that you can actually use this on your website and embed it into the website's code. We have some examples. We actually released, let's go here, in our blog. We recently released a blog post that talks about some real life examples of folks using the gallery. And you can see here with some of our images, and we've got some links for you to explore how folks have either linked to the gallery from their website or featured specific artists. And then here is an example of what it looks like when it's embedded. It's just on the on the organization's website, but it's embedded directly and functions as it would on ZAPP, but just on their own website. So it's pretty neat to be able to use that, and any information that you're updating in ZAPP along the way. Let's say an artist had to pull out, or you were able to put a couple more artists in, it will automatically sync to the gallery. So you don't have to make those updates of your participating artists separately. You can just let ZAPP take care of the work. So again, gallery is $200 on its own, but on site it's $250 total. So that saves you a bit. If you want to activate any of these add-ons, simply go to the Help Center. Click on, it's a little bit down below, click on Add-ons. And then here's where it provides, the updates of what I just kind of showed you. And if you scroll down, you'll get to this form, and you can select whether or not you'd want the digital package, which is on-site and gallery combined, or if you'd like on-site on its own or gallery on its own, or if you'd like ZAPP booth management. And we have one more add-on to show you before I get to some of the great questions that are submitted in the chat. So hang tight and I'll get to those. The next one I want to talk about is the single show e-blasts. So as you know, in ZAPP, all shows are guaranteed to be included in the weekly Wednesday e-blast 2 times during their application cycle. This is the show information email that's sent out to ZAPP artists. Your show will first be mentioned when you begin accepting applications, and then it will be mentioned a second time when your deadline is approaching. But if you'd like a dedicated e-blast about your show to target ZAPP artists, you can purchase a single show e-blast. So we send single show e-blasts on Monday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. When you purchase an e-blast, you're purchasing one date of an e-blast that's sent. You can request the e-blast a minimum of 10 days before your anticipated send date. They are reserved, though, on first come, first served basis, so we recommend you request your e-blast as soon as you know that you'll want to send one after your event is published. So when you send your e-blast, you can choose the specific states or region and the medium categories of the ZAPP artists you'd like to reach. So once you tell us, you want to target the Midwest, for example, and you want to target either all medium categories or just a select number of medium categories, we can send it to that segmented list of the ZAPP artists. The e-blast pricing is determined by the number of artists that you choose in your specific region and medium categories. And once we send that out, it will go out to those individual artists, and your e-blast would be the only e-blast sent that day to that specific region. So only that, say an artist received an e-blast, they would only be receiving information about your show on that day. You could also add an additional image or social media post to your e-blast. Here's an example of what an e-blast looks like. Includes your organization logo. If you add an additional image, it would appear down below. You can customize the text itself for the e-blast. So we work with you to create the e-blast that works for you. And if you want an e-blast, this one's also found in our Help Center. So if I go back here to our Help Center, click on ZAPP e-blast and mailing lists, you'll reach this page. And if you scroll down, you'll see information that I'm reviewing right now, the pricing. And if you go to submit an e-blast request, you can submit a request and we'll reach out to you with next steps for your e-blast. So if you are renewing your event now and your application deadline is coming up, do request an e-blast soon if you are wanting one. The January through March e-blast dates fill up very quickly. So we recommend you get out that e-blast request soon so that you can secure your date. Even if it's in January, February, March, we usually sell out of those by late October. So you want to get those requests in. All right, so that's a little bit about e-blast and the rest of the add-ons. The first question is, what is the override purchase deadline, or can I show an example? So in the product editor, the override purchase deadline can be activated for any additional product besides the jury fee. So the typical rules of these additional products is that there's a certain window of time the artist must purchase these, and that's decided by your accept invitation and purchase deadline. So folks have until that certain date to come to ZAPP and accept their invitation and purchase their booth or purchase any other products. Now, let's say you had an artist that you're making an exception for that didn't yet purchase a certain product, but the date has already passed. You can use that override purchase deadline. You would check this box, click save, and then it would override that purchase deadline, and that particular artist can come in and purchase that product. Just make sure you come back and deselect it when the artist is done so that no further artist can have that purchase overridden. So that's the override purchase deadline. Is it possible to customize a message in the artist application submission confirmation email? Artist applications. I'm assuming, Andrew, that you're referring to the message that an artist receives when they submit their application. They get an automatic email from ZAPP letting them know that they've submitted. That cannot be customized, unfortunately. That's just a standard submission email that goes to every artist on any event for ZAPP. If you wanted to send out your own customized confirmation, what you could do is once, maybe the application period has passed, you can come in here and send an email to your received artists and send them a separate notification that lists, jury dates or anything else that they need to know. You can send them your own email. Okay, and then the next question I have is, can a specific artist be blocked from applying? No, they cannot. There's no way in ZAPP to blacklist an artist from an event or keep them from applying. You'd have to just do so on your own, and however you want to handle it, ask them not to apply, or if they do apply, withdraw their application and send them a notification about why they are withdrawn. But you can't actually prohibit them from submitting the application in ZAPP. All right, the next question we have is, can I show you more details on how to manage the ZAPP gallery presentation? Is it possible to exclude submitted booth images from displaying in the gallery? So for the ZAPP gallery, booth images are actually not included because they're a separate submission level. They're separate from images. The booth shot does not appear. So you don't have to worry about booth shots. And anything else about the presentation? This is all where you manage it. So you can't really change the design of what the gallery looks like. You can just change what displays, whether that be the location of the event or your event's social media or the summary. Other than that, the information that's about the artists and the images that they've submitted are all going to be pulled into the gallery, with the exception that artists can actually opt out of being included in the gallery. Because this is public facing and some artists want more control over where their images are displayed online, they can actually go to their application for the event and opt out of being included in the gallery. I'm not sure how many artists actually do that, but that's an option for them. But other than that, those details I showed on this page are the only things that you can customize for the gallery. Can on-site be used for compliance as well? I'm guessing by compliance you mean making sure that the artist that is applying is appearing at the event themselves with the correct artwork and the correct pieces that they've applied with. Yes, I could see that being a use for on-site. Technically, it's used for scoring, but that's another way where you can verify the artist that's exhibiting. Yeah, Alexis, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So yeah, you can definitely try that out. If you don't end up using it to score the or to score the booths, that's fine. For the gallery feature, will the historical data be housed by ZAPP? Can the festival staff download that info? The historical data, yes, it's housed by ZAPP. For the gallery, even if an event is archived, the gallery will still be available. So you can still access that as long as you have an active ZAPP account with us, your ZAPP contract. So you can still access the gallery. But all the information from, of the artists that are saved in ZAPP, whether it's current or an archived event, You can always access that information and download reports, going back as far as you need, so long as you have access to ZAPP, meaning that your contract is up to date. So this concludes our webinar for how to renew and reminders for setting up your application for the next year. I hope you were able to learn something new or refresh your mind about a few things. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you at our next webinar.